He really, I've read a lot of books in my career on the subject of addiction, and he really was able to capture some kind of elemental things about addiction that many, many authors just can't get their head around. Following that, you make a list of all the persons you've harmed and become willing to make amends to them all. And the narrative in the book Alcoholics Anonymous is pretty compelling. You become willing to make amends to them even if they're going to call the cops and throw you in jail. And every now and then you'll hear in the news about somebody who's made amends where it has resulted in them being convicted of a crime. They pay back the money. This is supposed to be a really exhaustive process where you make this list and then you make direct amends. The two rules that I've heard over the years are you pay back the money. Even if people say you don't need to pay back the money, you still have to pay back the money. And the other is you never make amends to old girlfriends or boyfriends. Because there's no way to do it where your ego's not involved, where it's not about showing people how good you're doing. And then the last three steps are maintenance steps. Continuing to take a personal inventory. Continuing to develop a spiritual relationship, to maintain a spiritual relationship, and to carry this message to others. Right? So those are the 12 steps. Before I move on, any questions? Yeah?
What is this message?
The message of an alcoholic's transformation, right? Yeah. Really, the message of these 12 steps and their capacity to heal an alcoholic, to take away their compulsion to drink. So, other questions before you? Yeah.
Have you ever heard any stories about how long it took Bill to compose them?
Yeah, actually, the stories say that that there was discussions about the steps, and some of these concepts were borrowed from the Oxford group, but the actual writing of the steps themselves took he literally sat down with a yellow legal pad and started to write, and the next thing you know, the introductory narrative from the 5th chapter that includes all the steps was there, with very little editing. And like I say, if you can get a hold of the manuscript with all the editing marks on it, it's really interesting to look at. There are a couple of things. The introductory, the first sentence of the 5th chapter of this book, chapter is called How It Works, says, rarely have we seen a person fail who has thoroughly followed our path. Now, that's not what it used to say. In the original manuscript, it says, rarely have we seen a person fail who has thoroughly followed our direction. And there are a couple of meaningful things, and if you get a chance to look at the manuscript, it's very interesting the things they changed. Interesting, you hear from both sides. You hear people critical of AA